Hey, how's everybody once again? So today's video, I wanted to talk about double standards, being how, for some of you who may not know what a double standard is, it's basically something to the extent that it may be fair for one person to do, or one sex of people, or it could be even be race. But for the other race or sex, it may not be such a good thing to do. For instance, how if women, most of all, for the most part, sleep with another guys, when they sleep with a whole lot of guys, uh, let's say around 5 guys or more, all at the same time or within the same month. Let's just put it this way: we may have a woman that may sleep with around 5 guys with the same month, or in most cases more than that within the same month. She may get called derogatory names such as a slut, whore, trash, some of those things of that nature. Now, you now let me say this: if you have a man that may do the same thing, sleep with 5 women or more within the same month, he gets a pat on the back, so to speak. Gets his props as well from some of his homeboys, or some of the guys he may associate with on his job or elsewhere. Excuse me, let me adjust my shirt some. And he may get called things such as a player, a ladies' man, a Don Juan, a Romeo, womanizer. Most of all, womanizer is more common now in this day of age, or a ladies' man for a guy who may have heavy rotations of women all at once. And it's due to the simple fact that if some of you may be Christians or may be pretty religious and follow the Bible kind of goes into detail about why it's such a double standard when it comes when women having multiple men or multiple sexual partners, as opposed to a man having multiple women or multiple sexual partners. For instance, Solomon, for some of you who may have read the book of Solomon, if I'm not mistaken, he had over 700 concubines, 700 wives, translation. And nothing, after reading the book of Solomon, he didn't have to face any kind of prosecution on behalf of it. Now, on the flip side of that, for some of the women that tried to have multiple sexual partners in the Bible, it may have said in some of the books of the Bible how women would get stoned. And for some of you who may be wondering what is meant by that, just read more of the Old Testament that talks about that. Some of the books from the Old Testament, I don't know exactly which books they would be, but if you start digging more and more deeper and researching these things, then you will be able, for all you females who may be wondering why is it so unfair for you to have so much sex with multiple guys as opposed to us guys having lots of sex with multiple women, you'll kind of get a more clearer understanding if you were to research those kind of things. I mean, you don't even much have to read the Bible nowadays. You could do a Google search on it, on why is it such a double standard when it comes to both women and men having sexual partners. Anyway, another double standard would be how it's okay for women to cry, but not a man to cry. and this is just judging from my perspective and personal opinion. For the most part, with us men, we are always trying to be so hyper masculine, always trying to show our manliness and prove it. And we just look at things for the most part as showing our emotions by crying, weeping as a sign of softness, a sign of weakness. Some women, as a matter of fact, even look at men who are very emotional, very sensitive, as some more soft, more weaker. It's also due to our male ego and our pride. Most of all, our pride. We're, so to speak, so serious about swallowing our pride because it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just due to us being so egotistical, because we always have been known to be more aggressive, for one, more hyper masculine, more macho, things of that nature, just due to the simple fact that we're men. Although there are women in these days and times, in the modern days and contemporary times, who are trying to take on the same roles as some men who are trying to go as far as having tattoos all over their body, going as far as doing a lot of excessive drinking, something that has been known to be a manly trait. No offense, but it's always been that way, because in the Bible days it talks about how lots of men were engaged in excessive drinking, more so than women. Also, how men, compare, when you think about it, it's a whole lot of men who smoke cigarettes. Nowadays, it's to the point where women try to take on those traits by engaging in excessive smoking, cigarettes, and other illegal substances as well, if you know what I mean. I'm sure a lot of you do, if you catch my drift. One of the other double standards is that how, now, some of you may not agree with me on this part, but how, for one, and by this being one of the most derogatory terms and degrading terms out there, with the word nigger, and excuse my language for some of you who may be offended by that word, may not like me using that word. Us black people like I said on a video of the past, because you can look it up on the same channel, you can find it, about how we are detrimental towards our own people. I think that was a part of the title. Anyway, we do all we can as black people, specifically black people in impoverished areas and low income areas. Some people call those areas the hood, as using that term as a term of endearment. But whenever a white person specifically, or another race, may end up using that same word or term amongst us, we try to make a double standard out of it by getting all in our feelings, so to speak, by going as far as being more retaliatory towards that person of another race who may call us that word. Although it's pretty crazy in the same breath, because how can a word that's one of the most offensive and racially derogatory terms, because history explains it all. As a matter of fact, that was one of the most derogatory terms back in slavery times that slave masters used towards slaves, just to demean them and just to lower their self-esteem, just to feel more superior over the slaves. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me how we use that term so loosely nowadays, us as African Americans, but when other races or people use that same term amongst us, we want to cause all kinds of hell, all kinds of chaos. Another double standard, and some of you, I guess, may agree with me on this, is how it's okay for women to engage in sports activities specifically. Excuse me, it's not. Let me take that back. It's okay for men to engage in all kinds of sports activities. But anytime some men may see women playing those same kind of sports or engaging in those same kind of sports activities, specifically basketball, most of the time they look at those type of women as masculine, as gay, homosexual, just manly, those kind of things. And I know some women, because there's a basketball league specifically with women basketball players, mostly professional women basketball players, specifically mostly female coaches for those teams, but it hardly gets any viewership. Anytime it's televised on TV, now with the regular NBA league, it gets way more viewership due to it being a male-dominated sports league. Now, some of you women, once again, may take offense to that, about how it's okay for more men to engage in sports activities. Even football, you see women in football, chances are men may be turned off by most men watching those same women play football, whether it may be minor league, college, professional, either or. Although in the same breath, some females who may follow sports may enjoy looking at people of their same sex playing those, engaging in those same kind of sports activities, whether it may be hockey, baseball, football, basketball, even in the league, the MMA, excuse me, if I'm saying it right, or UFC, you see women kickboxers now, and to the point where I guess and even though I don't follow the UFC, but I have seen quite a few women kickboxers in that same organization, competing in that same organizations. Now, some of you men who may follow that organization, may watch matches of it from time to time, may not like really seeing women engaged in those kind of sports activities. Anyway, until next time, like the video, subscribe to the channel, also share the video, because I will be releasing more content in the not so distant future. Until next time, be blessed.